Hello, welcome to the Roundtable. What is the issue that caught your attention today? We'll help you understand key global issues and review the present and future of the world at a glance. I'll introduce today's guests. We are joined by Professor Hanni. Welcome to the Roundtable.
Thanks for having me again.
We are also joined by Professor Choi. Welcome to the Roundtable.
Glad to be back.
Prime Minister Pham of Vietnam visited South Korea last week. During his 4-day stay that started on June 30th, the Vietnamese Prime Minister met with South Korean business magnates, including Samsung Electronics chairperson Lee Jae-yong. They discussed investment and economic cooperation. Professor Kim, during the Prime Minister's visit to South Korea, Korean businessmen showed a great deal of interest.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, it seems as though Vietnamese Prime Minister Chinh met with a lot of business persons, including the Samsung chairman Lee Jae-yong, as well as others such as POSCO, Hyundai, Lotte, and he also met with a lot of business leaders in small and medium enterprises. And part of the reason why is because Vietnam right now is emerging as one of the top trade partners for South Korea. Vietnam is Korea's third largest trading partner after the US and China, so it signals that their relationship is growing, and Vietnam has become a major hub for investment and production. And so right now, Samsung Electronics has a trade office in Hanoi. Hyundai is competing in the Vietnamese automobile market. And South Korea's exports to Vietnam last year amounted to 53.48 billion US dollars. So we can see that there is a lot of important economic relationships that are growing.
Professor Choi, it's a very surprising development if you are familiar with the Cold War history, or you consider that Vietnam is a socialist political system, that Vietnam shows a great deal of interest in working with South Korea. What is the values or the attraction South Korea has to Vietnam?
Well, over the past 30 years, there has been an economic cooperation between the two countries. And for instance, the South Korea is the largest foreign direct investor in Vietnam currently. And it's not just the economic cooperation, but also the human exchange has been growing rapidly. Many foreigners living in South Korea, the largest community is the Vietnamese community next to Chinese. Many Vietnamese women are migrating to South Korea through the marriage. And this phenomenon has led both countries refer to each other as the country of in-laws. So given this context, both countries were come to adopt the joint statement on comprehensive strategic partnership on July 5th. So I think while the cooperation has been focused on economics so far, the collaboration will be extended to other areas, including like culture, diplomacy, and security.
The status of the comprehensive strategic partnership is one of the highest status that countries can have in a diplomatic relations. That's
so I think in South Korea, we were having those kind of partnership with the US, and Vietnam is the second.
That's very important development. We have just watched a video clip of NewJeans member Hanni performing in Tokyo Dome. As you know, NewJeans is currently one of the biggest and the hottest and most successful Korean pop girl groups, and Hanni is from Vietnam. So, Professor Kim, can we say the Korean culture from Hallyu has been playing a major role in boosting the partnership and exchange between the two countries?
Yeah, absolutely. As we talked about earlier, there has been strong economic relations between South Korea and Vietnam, especially after the two countries established diplomatic relations in 1992. But relations further improved because of socio-cultural trade as well. And so right now, Vietnam has one of the most fervent Hallyu followings. And it's not just Korean dramas, but K-pop and K-food, cars, drinks, they're all quite popular. And according to the 2023 Vietnam Hallyu Consumer In-Depth Analysis, 95.3% of Vietnamese respondents said that they liked Hallyu.
95%.
Yeah, and there's also a Koreatown or K-Town in Vietnam, right? And so we're definitely seeing that there is a lot of growing interest for Hallyu in Vietnam right now.
Professor Choi, if there's a Hanni in K-pop genre, then we have to also talk about Mr. Park Hang-seo, the hero in sports world, the national soccer team head coach for Vietnam, and his performance has been excellent.
Yeah, surely. He's the beloved figure in Vietnam, and his success with the Vietnamese national soccer team has been strengthened the relationships between the two countries. And he has inspired many young athletes and coaches with his dedication and resilience, and becoming the role model for many. And in addition, the Coach Parks also increased the interest in South Korea, and many Vietnamese tourists were visiting South Korea and indirectly boosting the trade and tourism. So taking all this together, I think the Coach Park's sports diplomacy have undoubtedly fostered a mutual respect between the two countries and also contributed to the friendly relationships.
Right. Amid this rising interest in Hallyu and Korean culture, naturally, the number of Vietnamese people learning Korean language has been steadily increasing. In Vietnam's National University in Hanoi, the Korean language department is the toughest department to enroll, and the medical school comes the second. So, Professor Kim, do you think this Korean learning boom will be positive for future?
I definitely think it's improving the relationship. We just talked about how Hallyu is improving relations, and a lot of people in Vietnam are learning Korean because of their interest in Hallyu, but also learning Korean provides more employment opportunities. So since there are a lot of Korean companies entering Vietnam right now, if people in Vietnam work for a Korean company, their salary can increase double relative to a Vietnamese company as of right now. And so learning Korean is not just something that's of their interest and culturally, but also economically, they might find it an incentive to learn. But also, as we were talking about earlier, there are a lot of Vietnamese people in Korea and a lot of Vietnamese students learning Korean in Korea. So they often go back and teach Korean in Vietnam as well. And so because of that, there are around 53 universities in Vietnam right now that teach Korean language. And as you mentioned, it's really competitive.
It's really competitive. Prime Minister Chinh also stressed potentials of tourism and the benefits of the two countries' bilateral cooperation in that industry. In the first quarter of this year, Koreans accounted for the largest portion of foreign tourists visiting Vietnam. On the other hand, last year in 2023, among foreign tourists visiting Korea, Vietnamese were the ones who made the largest purchases per visit. Professor Choi, these are very impressive developments, but how can these developments sustainable?
Well, the active tourism exchange between the two countries can be attributed to several factors. For instance, the cultural similarity and the relatively closer geographical proximity, and also the reduced psychological distance influenced by Hallyu and Coach Park that I just mentioned. And in particular, Vietnam is one of the fastest growing country in terms of its rising middle class. And its outbound tourism is also expanding a lot. So considering these factors, I think it's important for us to maintain the sustainable tourism exchange with Vietnam. And over the past 3 years, the top spending category of the Vietnamese tourists in Korea was hospitals, cosmetics, department stores, and duty-free shops. So we might think of focusing on those sectors and do marketing focusing on the core sectors. And also, we might also think of improving the payment system so that the Vietnam people can use their domestic credit card in South Korea conveniently.
I see. Confucius says, "Is it not a joy to have friends coming from afar?" Let's hope South Koreans and Vietnamese continue to enrich their mutual friendship in the future. Let's move on to the next topic. For many people, few things are better than a cup of coffee to feel refreshed and energized. A Korean-style coffee shop is hugely popular here. Let's watch a video clip first. Please take a look.
Justin Bieber and his wife Hailey Bieber are spotted buying drinks at this Korean coffee shop every day. coffee shops run by Korean baristas are trending in the US. Even on weekdays, they have to wait in line for an hour. The popularity of this Korean coffee shop has led to the creation of the new word morning coffee run. What are the charms of Korean coffee shops? Korean coffee shops are praised for offering not only rich and flavorful coffee, but also a comfy and cozy atmosphere that makes people want to stay longer. In particular, the Korean-inspired interior decor is one of the reasons propelling their popularity. Drinks with Korean flavors are also popular among customers. On the menu are more than 20 drinks, including 미숫가루, 달고나, matcha latte, einspanner, and buttercream latte. They offer a broad range of desserts too. The desserts are not limited to Western-style sweets like cake, croffle, cookies, pie, and donuts. They also include Asian options such as the Chinese candied fruit 탕후루, the Korean honey cookie yakgwa, and dried persimmon. Typical Korean desserts are also popular in Japan. Japanese people wait in line to drink cream latte topped with yakgwa, which is recommended as a must-try beverage.
Yakgwa is actually getting really popular in Tokyo. What is this? It looks like a biscuit, but it looks really sweet, so it was very interesting. K-cafes is like a combination of a co-working space and an actual cafe. In Tokyo, it's very hard to find cafes with Wi-Fi and plugs for your laptop. Korean cafes have all of these amenities, so I don't have to worry about getting anything done. I love the architecture of all these K-cafes. They're always very unique and very different, so cafes never look the same.
Their Korean-style service is also another point American customers like. Customers are offered detailed information about their orders and served at their table. Korean coffee shops are known for a hip, trendy vibe appealing to younger generations. They feature Instagrammable interior decorations, like a pink-themed spot, neon signs, and art-like lighting. By creating a sensation on social media with these charms, Korean coffee shops are growing more popular. A US coffee brand visited a famous coffee shop in Sangsu-dong, Seoul, to learn some lessons. Korean coffee shops are rising to fame across the world. It is hoped that they will enjoy long-lasting popularity.
Having a glass of iced coffee and moment of relaxation in a beautiful coffee shop, that is what I need right now. It seems Americans are in love with Korean-style coffee places and what they offer. Professor Choi, what is your impression about the Korean-style coffee shop boom in the United States?
Well, I think Korean cafe is having a unique design and diverse beverages and cozy atmosphere, which might have attracted many Americans to those places. The trend of K-cafe seems to be showing the broader interest in Korean culture, which has been fueled by K-pop, K-drama, and Korean cuisine. And considering this context, I think K-cafe can play the role as a cultural touch point where many Americans can visit and experience a slice of Korean culture in their own cities.
I just learned two things from my peers at school. That one, Koreans drink more iced coffee than they drink regular hot coffee. And we call iced coffee in short in Korean,
yeah.
right? Ice
Right.
Americano. You know this one, right?
Definitely.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, Professor Kim, what about your experience with Korean coffee shops in the United States when you were there?
Yeah, so there were a lot of Korean coffee shops in America, but it really depends on which region or area you're in. So, for example, in Los Angeles, there are a lot of Korean coffee shops, especially in the Koreatown area. But it's interesting because there are a lot of smaller Korean shops, but also brands as well. And they're usually right next to American coffee shops. So we definitely see them competing against each other, but they're also very different.
I see. Have you told the difference in style between the Korean coffee shops and American coffee shops in the United States?
Yeah, they're quite different. So American coffee shops, it's very quick. Like the environment is really just get in, get your coffee, get out. Or it's usually people that are working there with their laptops. So it's a little bit more individualistic. Whereas with Korean coffee shops, it's an environment where you can just take your time, have some leisure, chat with friends, and it's almost a place where you can just spend a lot of time just interacting with the people around you. It's a socializing
more relaxing and socializing place, right? Okay. The United States is a home to global coffee companies and brands. It is not an overstatement to say that Korean coffee shop culture has been re-exported to the United States. Are there any cases, Professor Kim, that the American brands exported and it was re-exported to other countries?
I think there are a lot of products that have been brought in and then changed and then sent back out. But in particular, we can see two. The first are bakeries. We see a lot of Korean-style bakeries that are now being exported, and they're gaining a lot of popularity abroad. So in particular, SPC Group, which is the food company, has been accelerating the global expansion of Paris Baguette, and now there are Paris Baguette stores in the US, France, China, Singapore, Vietnam, Cambodia, Indonesia, and the list goes on. And they're becoming quite popular because of their cafe-style interior. They usually have a theme. It's very simple, but also pretty and minimalistic. And in addition to that, we're also seeing the growth of Korean chicken. There are 700 BBQ stores worldwide and 67 Kyochon chicken stores.
Right.
And the thing is, even though it's chicken, it's being adapted to have Korean taste, but also have adapting this local aspect to it too. So in the case of Malaysia, for example, they're making meat-free options at these chicken stores. So in that sense, it's really interesting how Korea is kind of combining this uniqueness of Korea, but also adapting to local areas.
So, can you also think of these Koreanized brands that are being exported again to the international market from Korea?
Well, I would like to mention the Korean-style convenience store as
Convenience
well.
stores.
Yeah, right. The concept of convenience store was originated from the United States, but it was Japan who localized it successfully after its introduction in 1974. And Japan, as you may know, that it's well known for the kingdom of convenience store, right?
Right.
Yeah. And it was like 15 years later than that, the Korea introduced the convenience store in Songpa-gu. However, currently it's South Korea who are exporting the private label product to Japan. So thinking of what is the secret behind the success seems to be the innovative planning of the products. And many convenience stores in South Korea are producing new products and sales events, often collaborating with the diverse companies. And it's over like 1,000 products that is produced annually. That means more than 3 products per day. And in addition to this, the Korean-style convenience store has gained immense popularity in diverse countries, including Vietnam, because of its adaptation to local tastes and also the blending of the Korean product and the local products. And they offer the specialized sector for community feature-centric sectors, for instance, the seating areas and the free Wi-Fi zones. So given all these efforts, I think the South Korean-style convenience store has to become popular globally.
It sounds like there are places to go for everything and anything, right?
And
anytime.
I actually want to add more to what Professor Kim just mentioned. Recently, I visited Australia to attend the international conference, and I found Nene Chicken there.
Oh, Nene Chicken there, right?
Within a walking distance from my hotel. So it was really awesome to see that.
So what accounts for the popularity and re-exportation of the Koreanized brands to international market?
I think in part it's in what we've been discussing in terms of the Hallyu boom, especially with Squid Game, where dalgona, the sugar candy became really popular. And even when I was in the United States, I would see these dalgona candies everywhere. And so the influence of Hallyu, and also, even in K-dramas, when the main actors or actresses go to these stores or these cafes, it really does kind of create this enticing feeling where people want to go and visit. So there's definitely the Hallyu cultural influence, but also in addition to that, I think it's the role of social media, because so many people post about going to these places online, whether it's just a short clip or whether it's a full video or a picture. It does create this image of making people want to go. And so the role of social media, I think, has really been influential. And as I mentioned earlier, and as Professor Choi also mentioned, the adaptation that a lot of these Korean products have made in order to go into other markets, I think has been helpful.
Well, Professor Choi, let's talk more about this adaptation or the synergy effect that the re-exportation of the Koreanized brands. I mean, what kind of positive effect can we expect?
First, I think it has enhanced the global image of Korea by showcasing the unique culinary culture that Professor Kim just mentioned, the chickens and the bakeries, and also the innovative business model, which was exemplified by the Korean-style convenience store. And this positive reputation can also contribute to attracting more global consumers to Korea and also increasing the national pride. And secondly, I would say it also contribute to boosting the economy, since these brands were gaining the global reputation. Their success will attract more brand values and revenues, and also contribute to increasing the foreign investment and tourism as well, which stimulates the local economy. And lastly, the K-cafe and K-food, those things also facilitate cultural exchange. And by introducing the Korean flavor and Korean lifestyle, I think they are contributing to the cultural diffusion and also extending it to the other areas of Korea as well, which is creating the spillover effect.
Right. I can only talk about what I know with confidence, fried chickens that I enjoy with beer. That Koreans are very creative in terms of inventing new flavors, like the crunch flavor, honey flavor, a spicy flavor, you name it. So you have a wide range of choices right in front of you compared to the American style fried chickens. I guess the secret of success for Koreanization of this brand, like fried chickens or coffee, bakery, pop-up store, is openness and competition, which encourages the Korean industry to adopt the best practice out there and more, right? And Professor Kim, this might be just a short-term success for Koreanization and the re-exportation, right? Is it sustainable?
No, I think in order for it to be sustainable, it has to continue to be delicious.
More flavor?
Yeah, maybe. And you kind of mentioned the crunchiness aspect.
Right.
So I think here is where we see social media where ASMR, like the crunchiness of the chicken, these things can be very attractive and people may want to try it. But once they try it, it has to be good, right? And so in order for it to be sustainable, it has to be delicious, it has to be good. And Korean chicken is good. Korean baked goods are really delicious. And I think that makes it continue on.
And they are delivered like in less than 2 minutes, right?
Right. But even in the United States, where there are American cafes and Korean cafes, to a certain extent, because a lot of Korean cafes have certain themes and people like to post pictures of it online and it's Instagrammable, you might say, I think that also helps with the attractiveness. But in order to maintain its sustainability, these Korean companies need to maintain their uniqueness, but also it has to be delicious enough for them to continue to go back.
At the end of the day, it's a quality that
Right.
The global appeal of the K-content is not limited to K-pop music and K-drama. It has reached the daily life of global citizens and their food culture. This is all for today. We'll be back next week with a special edition of the NATO Summit meeting in Washington, D.C. 2024. Professors, thank you so much for sharing experience and insights.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For our viewers in the world, thanks for watching and goodbye.